Product assembly. Composition sometimes proceeds in segments. Students might come up with ideas that they refer to as the drum thing, the alto segment, or the flute riff. Now, these segments are usually groups of pitches, rhythms, or mixed combinations of pitch and rhythms that exist as units in the composer's thinking. These will likely evolve through the process of composing and be used as parts that are then put together. Product verification. With each musical idea that is added, composers may imagine, listen to, or play the piece again, the piece that they're working on, that is. Each hearing is an evaluation. What they are trying to do is to determine whether the piece is working or not. The process of working things out evolves over time. Development and extension. Development and extension. Development is the expanding of ideas. Extension is adding new ideas onto a musical work. Composition researchers have found that young students spend more time finding ideas than developing and extending those ideas. As students gain experience, their development and extension becomes more elaborate. Revision. Revision begins when the composer examines whether or not the finished product matches the intentions that they were trying to create for. Many times, the revision process begins with composers critically and objectively listening to the work. They might revisit the decisions that were made and whether or not the original intentions for the piece are still sufficient. Some students find the promise of new possibilities exciting. However, students can become overwhelmed or intimidated with the revision process. Teachers can and should play an important role in shaping the revision process. Editing. Composers edit their work to resolve musical or mechanical issues. Musical editing can enhance clarity, coherency, voice, and style through minor refinements. Editing can occur towards the end of the process or may take place throughout the creation of the work. For example, composers may adjust a rhythmic motive to create stronger relationships between two ideas. Or maybe they'll go about and choose a different instrumental timbre. Mechanical issues may also arise as the task nears completion. Score preparation sometimes involves fixing minor details, adding notation, tinkering with musical ideas, or adding interpretive performance instructions. Generally, editing does not significantly alter the character of the work, but brings refinement to the details. Sharing and seeking feedback. Interaction with others helps learning through the composition process. Student composers may choose to create pieces that are just for themselves. However, most of the time they will want to hear and they will want others who can hear and respond to their work. Often, this occurs informally, but teachers could lead a more formal sharing process. However it occurs, usually students are interested in hearing feedback on their work. Performance. Performance can be a very exciting step in the composition process. Some students may wish to keep their work private, but most will want to share their work. Evaluation. Evaluation takes place both throughout and at the end of the process. One way in which composers evaluate their work is to mentally check the intentions of the piece whether the intentions of the piece have been met. Generally, by the time students receive a final evaluation, they have considered the pros and cons of their work in considerable detail. Criticism. Criticism is more formal than feedback. Criticism occurs after the composer has completed the work and is satisfied with it. The purpose of criticism is to consider how outsiders come to understand a piece of music. Effective engagements in the arts involves identifying, describing, analyzing, and making judgments. In a critique, we identify the musical ideas presented by the composer and describe what the composer did with the ideas. A critique may identify relationships that are interesting to the listener, provide value judgments about the effectiveness of the piece. So as we've gone through this, this breaking down of the composition process should help us to better understand how the structure of student thinking occurs. Now you're going to be reading chapter 4 on preparing for composition. That is going to draw on some of these concepts. Looks at it a little different way because that's looking at it from the mode of planning. This was more of a look at what happens from more of an analytical perspective. So I hope that this is going to help you to make sense of that chapter.